So now that we have log in and log out, what are we going to do with it? We're basically going to restrict actions based on if a chef is logged in or logged out. For example, we want chefs to only have the ability to create new recipes if they're logged in, okay? Or edit their recipes and such. We want the chef to be logged in to perform such actions. Right now, there's no such restrictions. Like you can just click on new recipe and this shows up. We don't want to do that, okay? So we'll need some methods to accomplish this. And we're going to build the methods in our application controller. We're going to build a couple of methods here that basically returns the current user, then lets us know if the user is logged in and such. But before we do that, we have to make a couple of updates. Now that we have and we can simulate logging in, when a user signs up or when a chef signs up, right? So in the chef's controller, let me pull it up right here. When a chef signs up, we want them to be logged in, right? We don't want them to just go to the recipes path and, and then have to log in or something like that. We want to do something like this here. We want to set the session here. Chef ID. So at chef.id. What this will do is this will basically start the session for the user. Once they sign up, they're automatically logged in, okay? And then redirect to recipes path, that works. Okay. Now let's go ahead and create the methods that we need. So in our application controller, we want something like this. We want the ability to retrieve the current user, right? So when a recipe is created, we want to ensure that the user who's logged in is being associated with that recipe, right? So that would be the current user. Or let's say we have one user and they're trying to go ahead and edit someone else's recipe. We want to check and see whether the current user is the creator of that recipe, right? So in order to do those actions, we have to define current user, okay? And then we also want to check for something simpler, something like is the user who's trying to perform certain actions, are they logged in or not? Okay, now one thing you need to know about methods you create in application controller is they're available to all other controllers, but they're not available to the views. And we want the methods we create here to be available to our views folder because we're going to basically check for logged in and current user all over our templates. So to make them available, what you have to do is specify them. So you have to say something like this: helper method, and then current user, and then logged in. So both of the methods we're creating here, we want them to be available to our views. All right. So how do we get current user? So we have the chef dot find. Okay. Now from the session, we can grab the chef ID. Okay. So we can find the current user by finding what the, from the session, what the chef ID that's saved and retrieving that, right? But what if it doesn't exist? It's going to throw an exception, right? So we have to say something like this: if session, meaning if this part actually exists, then return the current user. Otherwise, otherwise don't. that will basically catch that exception. I use that term loosely. It's not really catching that exception, it's just making sure that that exception doesn't happen. All right, now another thing we want to do here is something called memoization, and you should definitely check this out. We want, for efficiency's sake, we want to do current user and then the 2 bars and equals. That's called memoization. What this does is it saves this to a current user instance variable. Okay, so every time, and we're going to call this method all over our templates. Every time we call it, if we don't do this step, it's going to go look for this, right? And it's going to pull that based on the object. It's going to pull the user from the database. So it's going to hit the database on every request. Now, if you are in a session already, what this will do is it'll store that whatever is returned to the current user instance variable, and then the next time there's a request for that same user on the same page, then it'll just use the current user instance variable. It won't go look for it again. Okay? Every time you go to a new page or a new request, then again it'll hit the database. But otherwise, if you're on the same page, this is going to add efficiency to your application. All right. And then logged in user, we want to say something like this. We want to basically check if the current user is logged in or not. If there's a current user and you want a Boolean returned. Now to turn this to logged in true or false, all you have to do to turn anything to true or false, you have to do something like this, 2 exclamation marks, and then just call it. Okay? And this will let us know if the user making the request is logged in or not. All right, so let's try this out. We're going to, let's go to one of our views and try it out. I want to go to our navigation partial, layouts, navigation, because this is where our new recipe link is, right? So I want to say if, oh wait, let me put the, if logged in, then perform this action, right? Okay, let's see what that did. So right now, you see, we can see new recipe here. Let me reload the page. Notice how it's gone. Why is this gone? Because we're not logged in. So now let me log in Bob at example.com, and then password was password. Notice how the new recipe link has showed up. Okay, perfect. Now, based on that, think about how you can implement this to the rest of the app, right? And there are so many things that you'd want to restrict. So I want you to think about it and write down what you come up with and take a shot at implementing it yourself. But I'm going to make one more modification in this lesson, and that is, notice when I go to the index or when I go to the home page, it shows up here. It shows up to my recipes, this home page. If I'm logged in, I don't want to display this page. I want it to go straight to recipes controller, the recipes index page, right? So where is this page? This is in the home, in the pages controller, home action, right? So under pages, home, and this is being controlled by the pages controller home action. So here, I want to say something like this. If logged in, or actually there's a better way, redirect to recipes path if logged in. Right? So I want to say if logged in, don't show that page, don't show this, just redirect to recipes path. So let's see what that does. I'm going to load this page again. Notice how I'll go to the root and load that page. Notice how it comes to the recipes page now because I'm logged in. Now if I log out and try that again, you've logged out. Now if I try the root again, this is the home page that shows up. Perfect. Now I want to add a link to logging in, right? So here is log into your account. I want to update this link, and I also want to show a login link up top here. So let's pull that up. That's in our home template. So pages home, there it is. Log into your account. Let's look at our path. It should be login path, but I just want to make sure. We'll do there you go, get login. So right here we'll type in login path. Okay, so that'll basically send me the form to log in. And the other update I want to make is to our navigation partial. If logged in, and show that. Else, I want to display the login path. So I'll copy this over. Div class nav item. Link to, I'm going to call this login, and this is login path. Okay, now let's try this out. I'll reload this page. Whoops, we have an issue here. We seem to have a syntax error. Let's try this out. Okay. Oh, I didn't put an end here. End. Let's try it out again. Okay, so now since I'm not logged in, it's giving me the login link. So I can log in from, let me test this one out. Login, bob@example.com, password. Okay, I'm now logged in. Now I have the new recipe path. I also want a logout path, right? So let me go ahead and build that. So if logged in, I want to show a logout path also. So I'll just copy this over and then paste it again right underneath it. Link to logout. And then logout path. I want this to be not warning, but danger. Okay. Let's try that again. Perfect. Now we have a logout path also. All right, great. So back to what we were talking about before. Think about how you can use the current user And let me pull up application controller. If I can find it here. There are too many things open. I'm just going to close a few things here. Navigation partial. Okay, so the two methods that we defined right here, current user, logged in user, think about how we can use that to the rest of the templates and restrict actions, okay? And we'll go ahead and implement that in the next lesson. I'll see you there.